Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you very much. Man, we've been on a string of episodes here that have got me pretty juiced up. Going back a couple episodes ago, Zach Rice, Crossing the Pacific. I've got more comments about that episode than I think I have any other episode. Obviously, it's not the most listened to at this point. It's more recent, going back to the first episode in Antarctica with Sunny Basorbi. That's been out for over a year. But yeah, people have been hitting me up about Zach. And if you haven't listened to it, what an adventure. His journeys crossing the Pacific Ocean. And then leading into our paleontologist interview with Dr. Megan Seitz about dinosaurs and our fascination with them. And then lastly with Hampton Sides, arguably the most famous person ever come on this podcast. Great stuff hearing about his books and hearing about what he's up to in his writing process. So lots of great guests recently. Catch up on them if you haven't. Today, you're just stuck with me. I just wanted to do a shorty today. I was working on an article recently for Forbes about, for better or worse, ways that AI is going to impact your next trip, and more specifically, impact the airline industry and airplanes and flights and stuff. And I thought it'd be interesting to just take you through it real quick. A lot of talk about AI right now for many reasons. The great unknown, we might say, looking into the future. It could remove jobs. It could create jobs. We don't know what's going to happen, but we know it's coming, and it's a hot topic. So let's look at it in terms of travel. The airlines, already they're implementing it all over. A lot of it is behind the scenes at this point, and it's kind of exciting. You know, I've been sort of, as a writer, I have somewhat of a skeptical view of AI for my industry, because I already know professional writers who are using AI, sometimes as more of a personal assistant to help research and stuff, and that makes sense. It's very good at that. Some writers I know use it to write their articles, and they just edit the articles afterwards, helping them save time. And of course, where the industry is going, a lot of publications will just start using AI to produce content. It's on the internet. The more content, the better is some strategies of publication, so they're going to use it that way. So I've been skeptical of AI in terms of being a writer and how it's going to impact me. So sometimes when I think about it, I go to negative town. So doing this article was cool because there are ways we can think of AI negatively for the airline industry. But after doing some of this research, I see that actually some ways could be pretty good and could actually clean up some of the stuff we experience when traveling now. So for example, we've all been there, right? We board the plane, everything seems on time, everyone loads their bags into the overhead, we all sit down, we buckle our seatbelts, we're ready to go, and the captain comes on the overhead and says, "Sorry guys, there's a delay, we just discovered something, we have a warning light flashing, whatever it is, maintenance is on their way, it's going to be a couple minutes," and then next thing you know, you've been sitting there for 30 minutes or an hour or more, sometimes even having to deplane, and that can be very frustrating, especially you have that delay happen at the last minute when it seems like you're ready to be on your way. Well, AI could be used to help do more predictive maintenance. For example, right now, airlines, the planes themselves, they use onboard sensors that monitor the engines, the hydraulics, the brakes, and all the critical systems that you would need to fly. And now they can use AI to analyze all that data they're collecting to better perform what they're calling predictive maintenance. So predict a potential problem and then perform the preventative maintenance on it. Instead of being reactive and having that flight delay at the last minute, AI analyzing all this data could help avoid that situation. You would think they were doing that now. I guess they are doing that now more manually or at a lesser capacity than AI would be able to do it. And it still doesn't fix the problem of, you know, if they don't have an extra aircraft, for example, they may delay the flight anyway, but perhaps they would know in advance that something's wrong, and when they get there, they're going to have to do whatever. But this is one way. So using AI for predictive and preventative maintenance and potentially reducing the delays that come with that. Second thing that it might be able to help with is with customer service, mostly in times of crisis. So just think about a winter storm that shuts down thousands of flights and people are stranded everywhere. The customer service lines get overwhelmed. Not only on site at the airport, you'll have a huge line at the customer service desk, but the phone number too. You'll call and be on hold, or you'll have to enter your number for a callback, maybe not receive it for hours. And those call centers and the help desk just get overwhelmed. Passengers trying to rebook itineraries and everything like that. So now apparently airlines are increasingly turning to an AI-driven support system to manage those disruptions. And in theory, they would have these AI assistants that would be capable of automatically rebooking itineraries, issuing hotel or meal vouchers, whatever needs to be done to address the particular situation. Now, this could be good. I mean, I definitely have had my fair share of times where, more in the past, I guess, like 10 years ago would be more when you had to go to the desk or call the number. Now, typically, you're just automatically rebooked. The problem with that is if you don't like what you've been automatically rebooked to, you still then have to go through that process. I don't know how AI would help with that at this moment, unless you could physically call and talk to it as if it was a human. I really would be terrified of getting into a situation with airlines where it's like calling a 1-800 number and you just can't get to a human being, because some situations call for that. I had a recent delay coming out of Hawaii where they just rebooked me on a flight, but that rebooking flight also took me to an airport that was affected by a storm, and only when talking to a human could I explain, hey, this is my situation, here's where I'm trying to go. So in that sense, I don't think at this very moment a total AI takeover is going to be that helpful, but it might make things more efficient during severe weather, things like that, when there's just so many people trying to get help, and maybe AI can help with that. So that's another way. Customer service, AI might be able to help. They also say that AI can help with reducing the amount of fuel that airlines use and the emissions. So today, fuel remains one of the airline industry's largest operating expenses, and they say that it accounts for about a quarter or more of the total costs. And airlines can now use AI systems to, optimize flight routing, cruising altitudes, taxi operations, descent procedures, aircraft loading. They can use AI at every step of the way to run it as efficiently as possible. Again, I think this is stuff they're already doing with computing and autopilot, but apparently artificial intelligence will be able to take it to the next level. And even if they can make small gains on each flight, when you translate that across a large fleet of air, like a major carrier offering thousands of flights per day, it can make a big impact. In theory, that could reduce their costs of fuel, which could translate to the customer and the lower ticket price, but I would forgive you if you were skeptical of that, because that's typically not how companies in America work. They're more likely to just keep the profit margin. But AI is being used to analyze the actual flights themselves and the routes and things like that. So that's cool. Another way is at the airport, and this is one we really already experience already. So you go up to TSA now, you give them your ID. You don't even give a boarding pass anymore, really, and they just take your picture. They use your biometrics to identify you and get you through security. That also happens when you're boarding flights sometimes. You may have experience where you just walk up to the boarding gate and just stand in front of the camera. They take your picture, and they don't even look at your boarding pass. You just go right on in. So that's already happening, and that's likely to expand. And they'll use that, quote, front of house, which TSA screening and boarding, but they can also use that on the back end too at the airport. They can do gate changes and gate coordination, ramp logistics management. Another part of it that's really cool is that, of course, they're already doing this. A lot of this stuff they're already doing, but AI is just going to take it to the next level, is with the autopilot. So now we have autopilot, and it helps keep us on our routes and things like that. But I don't know there's been the technology to coordinate all the flights in a way that AI can do. So these future systems may be able to assist the pilots and not only monitor the aircraft systems, but actively alter the route as they go, as they analyze weather risks, the most efficient routes for fuel, what other airplanes routes are taking, which are opening, which are closing. All that's happening simultaneously. I think now, as they're planning it, it's more of, okay, we set the route ahead of time. Maybe there's some alterations from flight traffic control if we hit bad weather, stuff like that. They try and avoid turbulence. But if we can use AI to factor in every plane's route simultaneously and alter it on the go more, you can create more efficiencies mid-flight. And all of these add up. They look pretty good to me. It sounds like AI can be pretty helpful in these ways. Predictive maintenance, customer service, fuel efficiency, route optimization, and then just airport efficiency optimization with how we're getting checked in, how we're getting to the gate, how we're boarding, how our bags and everything are handled behind the scenes. That all sounds great. Now we get to the one part that's kind of scary. And that's when it comes to airline pricing. So AI, they say, can make airline pricing far more personalized. And the airline industry loves this because they're basically a big bus in the sky, but they also want it to be a personal experience, just like being a tour guide. You have a group of guests, and you want the group to succeed on a whole, but the goal of the tour guide is also to satisfy individual preferences. So the idea of personalization is a big one in travel. However, when it comes to pricing, this could be a bad thing. Airlines using different prices for different people at different times is really nothing new. We have all these articles on the internet and in media, personnel who talk about when to book your flight, when's the best time. Book 3 months in advance, book 6 months in advance, book a year in advance, book on a Tuesday, clear your cookies before you book. I've had more advice about how to book a flight than I think anything else in the airline world. Everyone thinks they know how to get the cheapest flight. You use a third-party system, use this, use that. And so we've all seen how prices can differ based on when you log on. Now it might get just a little more on steroids, let's say. For example, a couple weeks ago, I was booking a flight to go to Austria, and I was trying to book one of the segments in miles, and I was searching for a bunch of different routes on a bunch of different airlines, and I think I ended up on Delta and realized I had some miles to use there. And I searched for the route in miles, looked at what it was, and then I backspaced for whatever reason, and so I went back to my search page and then said, oh, wait a second, I want to check that again. And I went literally right back without even doing anything else, and the price of the miles had jumped. Not like double or anything, but 10,000 more miles for the same exact route that just literally less than a minute ago had been a different price. I was like, man, that's really frustrating. And I think a lot of people have this when they're booking flights. If you search for something, you feel like, okay, now the internet knows I was looking for that, and maybe they're going to charge me more for it if I don't book it right then and I come back to it because they know I'm interested. And that's exactly what this AI pricing is going to do. It's saying that it is going to make, here we go, quote, future systems may incorporate factors such as booking history, travel timing, route demand, loyalty status, and purchasing behavior in an attempt to tailor fares and ancillary offers to specific travelers. So that could mean that two passengers searching for the same flight at the very exact same time receive different pricing bundles based on their likelihood to purchase. That's wild. And that really scares me because the transparency around exactly what data they're going to use is not that great, is not really available. So, for example, I think I joked in a previous episode that if you're in an email, writing an email to a friend and say, hey, my grandmother passed away, unfortunately, so I got to fly back to New Jersey this weekend. Can the airlines read your email and see that? And they say, oh, well, he's got to go back, so let's add $100 to the price. Now, that would be a huge invasion of privacy. I don't think we're there yet, hopefully not. But other patterns of behavior can be just as invasive. So, for example, I fly American Airlines all the time. That's how you develop a loyalty status and make flying tolerable, they may be able to see from my booking history, like let's say I'm a businessman and at the end of every month, I got to fly to Dallas. I always go for 3-4 days. Well, I think they can pretty much predict that next month I'm going to go to Dallas at the end of the month. He's done it for 13 months straight. So, yeah, let's up the price because he's going to go, right? And, of course, they run the risk of losing you as a customer, but not really. I mean, that's what's interesting about this. They say that future systems may incorporate factors such as booking history, travel timing, route demand, loyalty status. It kind of would work the opposite way. So if you're not a loyal customer, they run the risk of using you. But if I'm Platinum Pro or Platinum or whatever, they know I'm loyal. They know I don't want to go fly another airline because I don't have status on that airline. So maybe they can take advantage of me. It's kind of reverse loyalty. You're loyal to a fault. They know they got you. Yeah, sure. You want to save $100 and go fly United and sit in the back of the plane and board in Group 8? Go for it. But you can pay an extra $100 here. And, of course, all the airlines will be maybe sharing data as well. I don't know if that's legal, but I don't really even know if they have a set of regulations around this yet. So that's the big one that scares me, the pricing. And I've literally seen it in action where the booking website is noticing something and I search for it, I go back, and less than a minute later I go, and the price is already adjusted and not in my favor. Imagine that. It very rarely goes down. So just some food for thought. That's what the latest and greatest from the airline industry from my article for Forbes, just published this weekend. And it's not an extensive list. There are other things happening, but those were the most interesting to me. Many good things, and the potential for great things, and the potential for a lot of efficiency and improvements, and maybe even some increase in safety. But also the possibility for passengers and customers to be taken advantage of, and also the possibility for companies to trim their costs while not passing it on. We will see what happens, guys. I hope everyone is having a wonderful weekend, and we will be back very shortly with another string of guests. Questions, comments, you can always reach me, will@wakeandwander.com, and we will see you next time.
Riding the terrain, flying high up once again. Got my crew sitting healthy and my boo living wealthy. Level 99, never settle in my mind. So I pedal and I climb up the pedestal and find almighty weapon. So I calm, lightly step into the castle. Satchel, tackled, wrestled down the corridor where I'm grounded through the floor. Roundhouse into my core, down, out, and through the door. Sword down at my side, I gotta round up and ride. Face boss, break jaws till I take off. Face off, stop and swing my serious strike. This is it. Take the title, disappear in the night to the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole wide world. Slay the boss in the castle when we cross final battle. Then I walk out, travel to the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole wide world. Slay the boss in